Well, it's hard to generalize about this issue because mental breakdowns happen to, potentially anyone of any type. And even within the INFJ community, there's probably lots of different ways that these can manifest. And I'm not a therapist, I don't claim to be. I can only observe. I observe and I can make some, reports on those observations because I'm noticing patterns in how INFJs can deal with these things, whether they haven't completely experienced a breakdown yet, but you start noticing like the particular features, or when they are in it, when they're struggling to get out of it, that kind of thing. I think INFJs and INTJs have a lot of commonalities here, which is linked to NI dominance, of course. And in a sense, I think one of the blueprints or the templates for this is the way that Nietzsche experienced his mental breakdown. You could see the forewarning signs months and months and even potentially years before he experienced this final breakdown, if you like, which is something that even Jung mentions. He says you can really just tell. And obsession with a particular vision, megalomania can be manifestations. The conviction that everybody else is misunderstanding it's not necessarily the grandeur of your personality, but the importance of what you are seeing. So you can end up manifesting an image of a prophet that has his eyes or her eyes wide open, and people have their eyes closed, and you can end up feeling kind of bitter that people are not noticing it, and that can sort of reinforce your alienation from external reality and into the NI world. I like to talk about this self-contained NI world where there is almost like an alternate reality and fascination with the archetypes. Fascination with the archetypes of the unconscious. It's something that NI dominants experience even when they have healthy mental lives. It's something that is always with them, and I've talked about this. I've talked about in this book, particularly The Infinite Soul, which by the way is my new book on the INFJs, fresh out of the oven, came out in May. Check out the reviews and get it if you haven't yet. Supports my work too. The world is often hostile to INFJs, the modern world. So the INFJ life in the modern world, I discuss in this how to lead a productive, actually more so than productive, I would say meaningful, rich and purposeful existence. How can we do this? This is an in-depth look at it, so get a copy if you haven't yet. And so in this book, one of the concepts that I develop is this notion of severance. And severance is something that everyday NI dominants experience, this feeling that you have a foot in one world and another foot in another world. So one foot is in external reality, the other foot is in the NI world. And the best way to manage this is to balance them out. To balance them out requires, often in lots of situations, which are social situations, a lot of communication. For example, with a partner, when you seem to be somewhere else, you really are somewhere else. You're not disinterested in them, and communicating about this, letting them know that this NI world exists in whatever word is most suited for them to hear. Yeah, this is something that is crucial. I discuss this in a couple chapters in my book. But when you experience a breakdown, often, the foot that is in external reality just leaves external reality, right? Steps out of external reality and jumps straight back in the NI world. So both feet are in there. And so the dissociation, the alienation, the feeling of comforting womb-like self-sufficiency that NI and the fascination of the person by the archetypes provides, it can really lead you to withdraw from external reality and over time to find it very, very hard to go back to it. And when you are in this kind of positive feedback loop, you're inside that NI world. When you no longer provide any external data to feed your vision, obviously the vision can become more and more disconnected and less and less adapted to external reality, because this notion of adaptation, when I talk about the adaptive INFJ, that's one thing. But adaptation to external reality is key to life. You have to manage it in some way or the other. Jung is very insistent on that. But if your NI world no longer connects to external reality, adaptation is not going to work, and you're going to be neurotic and, in the worst case scenario, psychotic. And I think that there is this NI pattern that manifests in this. And again, I think the template here, the best example seems to be Nietzsche. Maybe he provides a kind of dramatic example of it, but there's a train passing by. It won't be too long, so just be aware. I can't get rid of that. But there you go. It's just where this house is located. So yeah, Nietzsche provides like an example, I think, of the way it can happen. It can manifest in different ways, but there's a lot of intensity because NI is kind of turning back on itself. So it gets more and more energy, like if you like, the concept of the libido, psychic energy is just maintained this NI world and circling back. It gets really, really intense until it explodes in some cases. So that's the way that I look at it. But you know, if you have a different perspective or a perspective that you enrich my perspective, let me know in the comments. Don't forget that I have written a book called The Ecstatic Soul as well as The Infinite Soul. This is the prequel. Looks more, the Infinite Soul is more about INFJs in the modern world. This looks more at the inside, the mind of the INFJ. I think it's the deepest investigation. I honestly think so. It has some philosophical insights as well. So it looks at INFJ consciousness. What is it like to have an INFJ consciousness? How does it manifest in existence? So those two books are actually very complementary. So you can consider getting them. All the links are below. And don't forget that my channel really depends on Patreon donations. Or, you know, alternatively, if you don't feel like joining Patreon, there's a one-time donation option right next below the link. You know, like the two links are together in the description box for PayPal donation. I've had one very generous donation, and I thank the person for this. Yeah, like this channel can only go on if with your support. I've already gone on about it, so I won't bore you too much. Thank you so much to my supporters. Consider it from $3.5 a month, I think. And you can interact with me, get access to some bonus content. Okay, take care, guys. Bye-bye.